Okay. As a woman who's experienced sexual assault in a similar situation, the text looked to me like she was venting about the incident, not threatening. So the thing is, like, the thing is about the first accusation is that, like, the first accusation in and of itself, I guess we'll start off with that one. Because Ethan was talking about this situation as well, but the first accusation is like is definitely not good. You know what I mean? It's like pestering. You're pushing, and then ultimately get consent, which still, without the other person's accounts, it looks like it was pestering and coercive. Okay, certainly. And in a lot of instances, people do that because they have either past trauma or they do that because they are fearful of what the other party might do. You know what I mean? That's like, there are very valid reasons as to why women eventually offer consent. Okay. Now, especially when you pair that up with like physical actions, you all of a sudden get into a territory of, you're behaving in a really fucked up way. Okay. There's also people pleaser syndrome. Now, a lot of women have experienced things like this, right? If you have any girlfriends, a lot of women have been through similar situations where, like, they might not even in that moment think that it was like weird or wrong because they're so used to it, right? And then later on, they're like, "Oh fuck, this was actually like weird. No wonder I feel weird about the situation." So that much I understand, and I think that that kind of like that instance deserves more information. That instances like that require more information. But once you establish a pattern of repetitive behavior, as I've said so many times, like I don't have a checklist, but I do look for certain things whenever there's a sexual assault or sexual impropriety, like any kind of like Me Too, post Me Too era accusation. There are a couple things I look at. Okay. And one of them is a pattern of repetitive behavior, like repeat offenses. That's why I always tell you, like, when this kind of stuff happens, I always tell you, like, look, there were more people will come out usually. Okay? The second girl had, like, no motive to lie. She has no social platform, can only lose, which backs up her claims, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, even if you have a social platform, it doesn't matter. That you usually have a lot to lose, regardless. Now, stop talking about this. The only person who should be held accountable is Andrew. Don't let people pester you about something you haven't done. Wait, what? No, I mean, people aren't pestering. I think that this is important to talk about, specifically because there are parts of this that are like completely sexual assault, unacceptable territory. Parts of this that could even be technically informative for a lot of young men who watch me to understand what not to do. I use this as any other issue that I talk about to openly communicate the boundaries of consent and what the best practices are going forward. Okay? It's a fair question to talk about when you promoted his content and worked so heavily in the past. Yeah, I've specifically, my promotion has been around sexual assault. Like that was one thing I was always promoting. Yeah, it's just like I am a big fan of that, and I think that that's a good thing, and that's what I've been promoting all the time. Why are you in here as a fucking year-long subscriber behaving like an out-of-pocket hater? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Seriously, what is wrong with you? Like, do you not, when you type something out, like, why do you read it beforehand? Are you just always on Twitter mode? You can't, like, literally fucking not write something in a more charitable way? It's so odd. No, I did not misinterpret it. I know what that chatter said. And Chowder was like, oh, no, it's fair for people to pester you, as a matter of fact. No, it's not. It's not fucking fair. No, it's fair for people to ask you all these questions all the time because you heavily promoted it. You heavily promoted his content for so long and his work. Be normal. Take a deep breath before you fucking chime in. Okay. So, anyway, as I was saying, and I talked about systemic reasons as to why this kind of like behavior manifests in young men because of like a lack of adequate education, not recognizing boundaries, and like, you know, being conditioned by their past experiences of like not getting held accountable or having someone go, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Don't do that. That's creepy and gross. Stop that. Okay? To like learn from their past mistakes. So, and entitlement, certainly, all of those factors are absolutely at play in a situation like this. So, badgering someone into sleeping with you is not a W. I agree. But I tell you all the fucking time, don't waste time on women who don't want to spend time with you. Like, have some self-respect, have some fucking decency, and obviously leave women alone if they don't want to fucking spend time with you. Like, it's obvious. They'll make it obvious. If they don't want to spend time with you like that, you got to understand. Like, it's like the number one thing I mention. And I don't even talk about it from the perspective of like women either. I don't even talk about it when I'm talking about this from the perspective of like the victims. I'm literally telling you as a guy, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, have some decency and a sense of respect for yourself. Okay? Have some self-worth. Stop fucking texting girls that don't want to talk to you. Okay? Stop DMing girls that don't want to talk to you. If they don't want to talk to you, they don't talk to you. That's it. It's so basic. It's so easy. And the same goes for, physical contact as well. Anyway. So, some people have to adopt the XG method too. Think if you don't know, ask flat out. Yeah. So, you will avoid a lot of instances. You will avoid, if you don't care about the victims themselves, if you don't care about the trauma that you're possibly putting on people, then that way you will be able to avoid the negative consequences of getting fucking called out and losing everything potentially. If you don't care about it, from the perspective of the victims, that's another perspective that you should care about individually. Okay? So, I don't know. I don't know how to, I don't know how to change this. Okay? I don't know. But guys, I'm not gonna fucking do a top of the hour ad break segue. Please stop. I'm trying to gather my thoughts here, talking about a serious subject, and you motherfuckers think that the top of the hour ad break segue is coming. Like, I'm not gonna do a segue here in between this story. Okay, I'm not. But it is coming. If you no longer want to see the ads, all you need to do is subscribe. You can do that for $5. You can do that for free with the Twitch Prime. You can get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's a 3-minute ad break now, okay? But like, stop. You guys are being fucking annoying. I'm not gonna be tone deaf and do that in between talking about like systemic reasons as to why so many women are assaulted. Like, that's insane. Stop rating as well. Here's the 3-minute ad break. Okay. Anyway, so let's hear what Ethan had to say.
it's for the men to protect themselves and to protect the women. I'm saying you got to meet someone, get to know them a little bit, make sure that you're both sober and that you've got enthusiastic
I mean, this take like almost attacks the concept of like casual sex or like hookups and shit like that. When in fact that can be done in a very fun way. I'm not anti casual sex. I'm not anti like hookup culture or anything like that. Um, if you're famous though, no, even if you're famous, like it doesn't matter.
consent because it's just not worth it. I don't think a lot of these guys doing this necessarily want to be hurting people, right? I think they get caught up in the moment. I think they probably have a lot of regrets about how they acted. I don't know though. Maybe I'm assuming too much. I don't know, right? I don't know how these people feel or what they think about. But I do know that there's a lot of victims of women.
Am I crazy? Does Ethan kind of sound reactionary here? Like the conservatives who are like, what are the rules? Man, that's not a conservative take. Why are we like giving conservatives any kind of fucking grounds to make it seem like they have reasonable assessments here? Like not understanding consent is one thing, okay? But like literally you're talking about a conversation, like interpersonal communications between a man and a woman that are strangers to one another. That is an insanely complex situation, okay? Of course, there are so many different dynamics. Like, no, Ethan is not being reactionary when he says, what are the rules? Or conservatives aren't even fucking being reactionary when they say, what are the rules? There are obviously instances where, like, it's pretty obvious. When someone says no, that means fucking no, okay? That is a rule. That's like a pretty basic rule. Fair.
Who are in the wake of these famous men being traumatized, being abused, having lots of regret, being coerced. So what do we do about it? I mean, if you're a famous man coming up, you can't do it. I mean, it's too risky. I think the dynamic of you being famous and powerful and then being a fan and knowing who you are, it's too powerful of a combination. So like you can't exploit that. It sucks, right? It sucks because you can't go out there and be a rascal and fuck everyone. You know what I mean? But which is like apparently the dream of men. That's why they become famous. I didn't know that. I mean, I know that there's like dudes out there, but I find that odd that like you become famous just for that. So it's just like, okay, bro, that's really it. That's all there is to life.
I think that's just
But
young
yeah,
men.
you're not getting away with it. Take them out to dinner.
I think one of the things that happens so frequently for a lot of dudes is that like they're fucking weird nerds. Okay? The Aziz Ansari situation is perfect. It's a perfect example of this. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, when we look back at the Aziz Ansari situation, it's like, yeah, he's a fucking nerdy guy who doesn't know how to like read the room all that well, and he had a hookup that in his mind totally fucking seemed reasonable and valid and normal. Meanwhile, like on the other side, the person basically had doubts afterwards. Like was not all too happy with the interaction. Okay, like it's an instance of miscommunication, and I personally think that that is an understandable boundary. The first Aziz situation before people jump on you. Wait, what are there other Aziz Ansari situations? I thought there was only one. What the fuck? No, the Aziz Ansari situation was that like this has happened every single fucking time, okay? Me Too was created as a movement because the actual like institutions of power were built by men oftentimes to basically violate whatever boundaries they other people would want to have. So because these institutions, including courts, including the police force, were not doing enough to like combat sex crimes, people took it to their own hands, okay, into the public square. And what happens when people take matters into their own hands? There's a pendulum swing, okay? And sometimes that pendulum swings to the fucking insane, completely opposite end of that spectrum. And it happens every time. There are always, if you look at it now, it's not like a rule or anything, okay? But usually what happens is like someone very reasonable and very valid is getting called out, okay? And, they'll even get criminal punishments, like in the case of Harvey Weinstein. Then a bunch of others come out, okay? And a lot of those are also valid. Almost all of them are valid. And then we get to the points where it's like, it moves into like the area of people being like, oh, we went on a date and like, we kissed, we made out, fucking, and at the time I thought it was fine, but like now I don't feel like it's okay. You can say it's a bad take all you want, but with Aziz Ansari, that's basically what happened, for the most part. Okay, and that was in my mind when that first happened. In my mind, it was. It felt like it was a culture shift where it was like, this is the new rule. These are the new boundaries. And I think that's a valid fucking thing to ask for, okay? Demanding or expecting enthusiastic consent is understandable, okay? You aren't going to get on Aziz Ansari's podcast, bro? Does Aziz Ansari have a podcast? Does Aziz Ansari even have a fucking platform still? Like, what do you mean? Like, what is this? You think I have like alternative reasons as to why I'm making this assessment? Like, what are you, stupid? Anyway. The point is, are you talking about something before looking into it again? What? No. What is this smarmy fucking attitude from chat, dude? No. This is like an old story way back in the day that I covered. And I'm using this as an example to tell you how these things normally, like how the culture shift often happens. Dude, can you put a little bit more respect in the fucking chatting? Like, what's going on? You come in here and you're just like popping off? Like, what? Yeah. You're not a real leftist? Okay, I'm just gonna start banning people, I think. I mean, it's my fault. I did basically start this conversation like super early on in the day without like getting into other news or anything like that.
Get to know them a little bit. And then you got guys who travel around, right? Who go city to city. I don't know, man. Jerk off. I don't know. Just beat off, bro. Get some hotel porn.
Yeah, I don't think this is just about being horny. That's the difference. I think that it's like, I think men are taught from an early age to just like, be aggressive, go after what you want, shoot or shoot, that sort of thing. And like, there is validity to that statement, but I think like people don't know how to control themselves. People don't know how to conduct themselves in this situation, especially paired up with like rape culture, which used to be way worse in my opinion. And especially paired up with like a sense of entitlement that people have. I mean, there's so many different flavors of what I'm basically talking about, all the way to like brutal rape or what Harvey Weinstein did, for example, even though his dick was fucking literally mangled as a consequence of having gangrene on his penis. Like, that was a power thing. That was control. Rape can sometimes be about just straight up control. It's not just like letting out your sexual desires. You know what I mean? And I think but when we think about like, when we think about other situations, other instances, like some of the Andrew Callaghan accusers and what he did in the way he conducted himself in some of those interactions, that in and of itself is not necessarily about power, but more so about constantly and consistently being reinforced by never facing a level of accountability, I think, and thinking that is like the modus operandi, the normal way to operate, the normal way to fucking behave. Maybe he realizes it's bad, but he still does it. Ultimately, it doesn't matter, because what matters is the trauma that you're inflicting on people.
I know it's expensive, but you're rich. Hell, even get a prostitute. Well, I think that's fine, right? I mean, at least you know what's going on there if you hire a prostitute. I don't know what the solution is, but what's happening right now is not working. It is not working. So I don't know if this was a crazy tweet. Is this a crazy thought or a sane thought? What do you guys think? Because I'm getting sick of seeing this happening. I'm getting sick of seeing people that I did respect.
Sex is also framed as a game in which men have to convince women to fuck them. So no means no, it means try harder in their minds, which is incredibly fucked. Yeah, another part of this reality, another part of this dynamic also revolves around the fact that like women are basically sheltered and pushed aside. And while objectification happens, it's never on women's terms. Like, women are objectified. They're seen as objects of desire. But people don't even fucking think about or consider that they want to fuck too. Women are horny, okay? But unfortunately, from early on, women, for the most part, are taught that they are not supposed to fucking be horny, that they're not supposed to control. They're supposed to just, behave a certain way. And that paired along with like all the fucking shit experiences that they have early on. And this is something that you hear all the time. Like girls being like, oh, the moment that I fucking got my first period, I was already being hit on by like adult men who treated me like an adult woman. You know what I mean? Literally. Like constantly fucking having to endure that in a society also pushes you, obviously will leave you having your guard up all the goddamn time. You're saying ew, dude, gross, but like, yeah, if you've ever talked to a woman, they will tell you that these are their experiences. This is something I've heard a million times over. So it's gross, it's weird, but it's true. So when you are growing up in a society that tells you like your sexual urges are wrong, that you shouldn't touch yourself, like the amount of women I've met that literally did not masturbate or ever use a sex toy until very late in their lives, until like full blown adulthood. I'm talking like late 20s, is insane. Because when you're a guy, there's no such fucking boundaries. Okay, from the moment that you fucking touch yourself, you're like, oh, this is fire. We're doing this all the goddamn time. Okay. So that literally churns out an entire 50% of the fucking population that never get the adequate sex education that they deserve. So there's also that element to it where women are taught to be and socially conditioned to be sheltered and then cast away their sexual desires when they have them. Okay. Like the purity concept, the virginity concept. This is like still it plays a fundamental role in society, in the way that we perceive women, which is yet another weird male gazed focused object of desire categorization. You're an object of desire. You're supposed to look a certain way. And also on top of that, you're supposed to maintain your purity. Like Muslim countries, man, what the fuck are you talking about like Muslim countries? You think this doesn't happen in America? What are you, fucking delusional? You think this doesn't happen in the Western world? Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, it happens literally everywhere. It is a universal factor, okay? It is patriarchal regardless. So, anyway, so for that reason, there are instances where women might even like it's created this environment for men that are growing up where they think like, oh well, you know, I assume that this person is saying no because they're fearful of like what others will say about them. They're fearful that like others will say she's a slut or something. You know what I mean? Like that's another rationalization for men in their minds. Okay, if you want to be as charitable as possible, and when you never really take into consideration that like the person might not just simply want it at that moment, might not be the right time, might not just find you to be attractive in that way. Okay. You just do that and you hurt people along the way without even recognizing, and then you continue doing it over and over again. And I think this is, again, a product of our systems, our social conditioning. Okay? You think there are any moral merits to purity? No. I think that if you want to fucking not have sex, you shouldn't have to. But like, I don't give a shit. There is no, what moral merit is there to purity? What? I don't put any sort of moral value on people's choices as long as they are being done in an educated and consensual manner. What the fuck? So anyway, one thing that I've always described to people, is like for men specifically who, and I grew up at a time when like, I grew up in a time in a culture where like the consent conversation was at the forefront, even before the Me Too era, where people were like, "Oh, you should always ask for consent," and people considered that to be weird. Okay, people were like, "What the fuck? Like, I'm just gonna ask for consent." And one thing that truly helped me understand it, okay, especially after I became sexually active, was that if I'm on a date with a girl, okay, and we go back home, and the girl says, "Can I suck your cock, please?" Is that really going to turn me off? No, of course not. Of course it's not going to turn you off. That's insane. And I think like that is something that people could not comprehend at the time, like when they were asking for enthusiastic consent, because there is a fear of rejection, okay? But like if the moment is right and you ask openly for consent, they are not going to get turned off by it. That was like a legitimate fear that a lot of men had, okay? It's fear that I even had, but that was also because I was not sexually active. You know what I mean? So I didn't understand it. But of course, put yourself in the shoes of the other person. Go back home and you ask for consent. You go back home and they ask for consent. They're gonna you're gonna be very excited at the prospect. Okay? That's it. Fear of making it weird, I think, is real, though. Certainly, but again, if the moment is right, like asking for consent is never going to be. I have, in all of my experiences, I've never had an instance where I asked for consent and someone said, "Ew, that's weird. Why would you ask for consent?" If anything, it's often seen as like unique. Okay? And like it's a more comforting environment for the other person when they recognize that like you care about what their perspective is, what you care about them feeling safe in that moment, which of course makes it probably, even when you think about it, it probably makes it easier for them to like that level of comfort and security makes it easier for them to enjoy the process more as well. So yeah, all of your fears about asking for consent oftentimes come from your internal struggle, like things that you've made up in your mind. You're going to think like, "Oh man, that's weird. It's going to be weird when I say this." That did happen to me. I asked a girl for her consent to kiss her, and the response was no because you asked. That's weird. So I just left. Okay, well then that person is fucking weird. How do you ask? I mean, can I kiss you? Is pretty basic. That's what you asked? That like how you asked for consent? I mean, maybe you haven't thought about it. Or is this okay? I hope you're comfortable. You know what I mean? It's not weird to ask. Anything you don't want me to do, let me know, you know? Some of you literally think like you have to have a checklist where it's like, can I do a penile insertion? Can I do a penile insertion, please? Like, check. Like, it's not like that, dude. What the fuck? It's weird to think that this sort of thinking and behavior is considered based. Yeah, it is weird. But unfortunately, for a lot of people, this is a foreign concept. So this kind of attitude is, you know. Kızlar beyefendi erkekten hoşlanmaz. Oğlum salak salak konuşma amına koyayım. Yani senin hayatında görmeyeceğin kadar görmeyeceğin kadar experience'ın var yani. Ömrün boyunca izlediğin pornoların hepsini toplasan da ondan daha fazla experience'ın var. Sana anlatıyorum bunu. Sen gelmiş burada salak salak 31'ci pezevenk konuşuyorsun sanki bir bok biliyormuşsun gibi. Siktir lan. Yarrağımın anteni. Anyway, so where the fuck was I? Yeah. Anyway, these are important rules to understand. I hope people
have their
get a
lives
better.
and careers ruined because they couldn't keep from being pervs. And I'm sick of seeing young women who are being traumatized because they're being coerced into doing things they don't want to do. What the fuck is going on, dude? Somebody's got to figure this shit out. Ugh. But it's not, shit is changed. It's different now. You can't go out there and just fuck everybody. I think men need to realize, like, what a powerful thing sex can be. Like, you have to respect the power and the emotional connection that happens there, and how violated somebody can feel who, like, offers you up their body in that sense, only to be kind of like discarded or used or to regret it. There needs to be some understanding of that. And I'm not being a prude, right? Like, I'm cool with casual sex. I'm not like a puritanical. I don't think people need to get married or anything. I mean, fuck on the first date. I don't care. I'm just saying there's a specific issue with famous men. Because there's a magnetic pull that you need to be accountable for and that you need to treat with a special care.
Yeah, don't
And
fuck
it's a way, in
fans.
a
That's
way,
a good
maybe
way
this
to
isn't a good
start.
analogy,
For
but like,
sure.
if you're a trained martial artist, world champion, you know what I mean? Like, 3-time black belt, you know how to kill a man with one punch. If you get into a bar fight, you cannot unleash your full fury, because if you go like and go for like a neck throat punch and they end up dying, guess what? You're going to fucking jail. Whereas if it was someone who was untrained, you could, go crazy. You're not going to kill the guy, right? You can fight with all your passion. You don't have to worry about holding back. But if you have the potential to kill someone, you know how to do it, and you can do it easily.
He said it. These rules only apply to rich, famous people. These regular viewers do not need to ask for consent verbally, and it can be agreed upon. Jews trying to steal our body language induced sex. Huh? Hasan is too woke. What do you say to them? Body language is no longer required? Motherfucker, you should probably stay the fuck away from the women in general, just people in general. Holy fuck, dude. You good? Bro, that's crazy. Like, I'm not even saying that, like, obviously you have to fucking ask for consent every single step of the way, like a fucking checklist, okay? Like, certain things you can comprehend, okay? But if you can't, you definitely should ask. You, on the other hand, should be, probably institutionalized. Holy fuck, dude. Jews trying to steal our body language, induce sex. He said it. These rules only apply to rich, famous people. The regular viewers do not need to ask for consent verbally. That's an insane fucking thing. Like, I'm over here explaining how you need to be a fucking decent human being, and motherfuckers are like, nah, fuck that, dude. You fucking piece of shit. You're a pussy. You're too woke. Okay. Like I said, if you don't give a fuck about, like, the impact that you have on women, have fun with fucking rape allegations, okay? You know what I mean? What the fuck? I mean, I'm banning them for anti-Semitism, obviously, but, like, Jesus Christ, dude. He's saying that famous people feel too entitled, not that it doesn't fucking apply. What? No, he said regular viewers do not need to ask for consent verbally. And he also said Jews are trying, Ethan, as a Jewish person, is trying to steal our body language, induce sex. You don't have to defend everyone, you dumb fuck, in the chat.
you don't do it, right? And that's common knowledge of people who are highly trained martial artists. They know that. And in a way, again, I don't know if this is a stupid analogy, but it's kind of the same thing, right? If you're famous and powerful and you go out.
I think some chatters just don't comprehend and process what you say, and they just watch with hate. Yes, a lot of people have preconceived notions of what I'm saying because they've already put me in this like narrowly defined box. I am a woke lord. I am a soy facing SJW or whatever the fuck. So they're not arguing against me or the positions that I'm presenting to them. They're arguing against positions that they think I have. Okay? And this also happens with leftists that watch me as well. Leftists come in here and literally automatically make assumptions about what my perspective is. They may have seen like someone fucking lie and say, oh, Hasan went to a brothel that was raided for sex trafficking, even though the fucking brothel was raided for tax evasion. So they already have this like assessment, right? Where they perhaps assume that I don't think that there is any sort of thing such as sex trafficking or whatever. So they come in and they go crazy. Okay? But they're not listening to what I'm saying. They're just listening to, literally, they're listening to fucking the expectation.
You have this edge. You have this magneticism. You know, people are going to be more pulled to you, especially fans of yours. And so in the same way, you got to be careful with what you've got there. Does that make sense? What do y'all think? Is it crazy? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't fucking know. What I do know is this is one shot, one take. I'm going to upload it to my channel. And if y'all got a problem with it.
Anyway. No one is like saying that you can't infer consent, okay? Or body language is like meaningless in this conversation. Of course it's meaningful, okay? It's done. The video's done. It's done. It's over. Logan Paul came out with a response to CoffeeZilla, by the way. We're going to be looking at that later. Anyway, but there are certain places that you should never go to. Like, you know, don't shit where you eat, okay? Do not try to fuck your coworkers. There's always going to be boundaries. Like, just don't do it. It's not good. It's not good. Not good at all. You know? Don't flirt with in the workplace in general, but especially don't flirt in the workplace with someone who is like a subordinate, okay? Holy shit. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Not good. Not good. Not good. Don't dip your pen in the company ink. Yeah. I don't want to be that guy, but have you never flirted with a coworker or a fan? Seems like a hard rule. No, don't do it. I don't think it's that hard of a rule for me. If you're famous, if you're famous, don't fuck your fans. I think that's also a good rule of thumb. Obviously, there can be exceptions for everything that I'm mentioning because literally every single circumstance is different. We're talking about human beings. This is a super complex situation. You can't just like literally put hardline rules, okay? But these are best practices to follow, okay? And for every like good example of like a successful relationship that started off that way, there are a million horrible examples, okay? See my last 3 comments, please. No, I refuse. If it was interesting or unique enough, I would have watched it from the jump. Anyway, so yeah, there is more people have come out. We already talked about it. Um, um, there's another Rolling Stone article, but like here, I mean, this is another one where it's like one woman who went on a Tinder date with what the fuck? What's up with this fucking article and like the formatting? Am I crazy? Why is it so close to the fucking edge? When Charlotte was 18, she matched with a then 19-year-old man named Andrew Callaghan on Tinder. The now 24-year-old who requested a pseudonym to protect her privacy was familiar with Callaghan as they had attended neighboring high schools in the Seattle area. He would become, the well-known person. The view I had of him was like, haha, look at this dude, she tells Rolling Stone. But in 2016, she agreed to go out for coffee with him, with the two returning to the apartment he was staying at. She says to drink wine and watch a movie. What happens next, she says, was an abrupt shift of tone in the evening. Charlotte claims Callaghan kissed her, then poured wine on her chest and licked it off. They were acts she said she consented to, even though she was somewhat uncomfortable. It wasn't until Callaghan grew more persistent, placing his hand on her crotch, that Charlotte started saying no. It wasn't taking a simple no for an answer, and consequently it turned into me making up an array of excuses as to why I didn't want to have sex, she says. He kept insisting that I needed to get him off because I was giving him blue balls by not having sex with him. Eventually, Charlotte says Callaghan got the message. The two never spoke again, but she says she left the incident, left her feeling violated, confused, and incredibly disrespected. So, here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. This right here, first of all, blue balls is not a myth. I don't know why but blue balls in a coercive act like this is, inappropriate, unacceptable. Blue balls are not bullshit. Oh my God. I hate when dumb motherfuckers say this. Like, no, it is literally a real thing. Okay. It is a real thing. Just jerk off. What the fuck? Why are people saying something can be real? Okay. And painful even. And also simultaneously be unacceptable to fucking bring up in a circumstance like this. What the fuck? Why do people try to tell motherfuckers that this is not real? Like, it doesn't have to happen through an instance where you thought you were going to have sex, okay? Just if you jerk off, get close to completion, and then don't actually come, you can still get stomach pains and shit like that, okay? It's just not her problem. Not everyone gets them, that's why. Wait, really? I don't understand why people just act like it's just like not a real thing though. But it goes back to you shouldn't have to convince them. You shouldn't have to convince someone. No matter what happens, you should not have to convince someone to fuck you, okay? Obviously, there's a lot of societal expectations and a lot of like even in the most charitable circumstance, there's a lot of social conditioning that makes you think like, oh well, maybe maybe there are other factors, but ultimately you should be respectful and don't fucking don't pursue. Now, luckily this did not go any further, and it seems like this is a pretty consistent thing that Andrew has done. Okay, for a lot of you in the chat, if you have up until this very moment considered this to be a normal part of the process and like, oh, it's just like kind of weird, whatever, what the fuck, like why would you call that sexual assault? You're being crazy, all this shit. Okay, listen to me. Just don't do this in the future, okay? Please. Just don't do it. Don't do it in the future because it very clearly is something that the other side does not appreciate. Okay? That's it. Learn from this right now. You're not famous. Even if you have done something that is similar to this, that you think is similar to this, but you got no like repercussions for it, okay? I'm telling you right now. One, apologize to the person if you have something like this that you can think of. And two, don't ever do this again. Okay? They not real, you just a bitch. Oh my God. It's such a weird fucking take because like there's medical evidence for this being a thing, okay? I don't know why you dumb motherfuckers are just like still caught up in one part of this conversation that is not even significant, okay? Every single time we have this conversation, there's always people that chime in and go, oh man, like, it's not real. It's not real. Like, it is the slang term for epididymal hypertension. It refers to the aching and painful testicles. Some people may experience this symptom after sexual arousal that does not result in an orgasm. But this is not the other person's problem, okay? It's just, it's not. It's not their problem. Anyway, so basically, like you end up, whether you realize it or not, you end up leaving people upset after this process, okay? And if you go through with the act, if you go through with the action, blue balls is not dangerous. Okay, I never said that. I never said it's dangerous. Any discomfort should subside once the erection is passed and the blood flow to the genitals return to normal. A person does not need a partner to relieve blue balls through sex. Again, yeah, I never said that. The testicles do not actually turn blue. I never said that either. Okay? You literally just jerk off. That's it. You have to, like, that's the best way to deal with it. Just go and jerk off. Go to the bathroom. It can be very, very, very painful. Just jerk off. Bro, that's being bricked up. No, being bricked up is not the same as what we're talking about here. This is like when you're so stimulated that you're close to, or to like when you're so aroused that you're close to fucking coming and then you don't come. And then you have like an ache, sometimes like a crippling ache in your stomach and your balls. Odd to claim that this is just like not a thing that exists. Anyway, but yeah, the two never spoke again. For the next few years, Charlotte watched with growing discomfort as Callaghan's platform grew, first with All Gas No Breaks, in which he traveled across the country in an RV interviewing various eccentric subcultural groups, then with his follow-up channel, Channel 5, which garnered more than 2.2 million subscribers. Over the years, Charlotte privately told people who shared Callaghan's content on social media about the encounter, messaging one friend in 2019, and Callaghan tried to make me do sexual things that I didn't want to do, and another in 2020 that Callaghan was really sexually inappropriate with me, according to the screen grabs and screen records viewed by Rolling Stone. Charlotte's ex-boyfriend, whom she told about the encounter, tells Rolling Stone that Charlotte told him Callaghan was kind of aggressive. Yeah. And this is not okay because it leaves people feeling insecure and uncomfortable, okay? This is not okay because it leaves people feeling insecure and uncomfortable, and it can lead to additional acts that you do that is way more serious and a crime on top of that, okay? Like, you might not be able to prosecute in this circumstance, okay? Depending on, the victim might not even want to prosecute in this circumstance, right? But like, if you're doing this all the time, there are going to be moments where you are doing something that is like going above and beyond. So I'm telling you, okay? I'm telling you, you're doing this kind of thing. You're doing this kind of fucking thing. Don't do it. Don't do it, especially first and foremost and primarily because you care about potentially the victim Okay? You don't want to hurt someone like this. And if you can't consider the other person, you are literally guilting someone into having sex with you. That's abuse. Crippling is only slightly uncomfortable. It doesn't even hurt. Okay. If you don't have empathy, do it for self-preservation. Okay? That's it. That's what I'm saying. The reason I give a deep sigh in this situation is because it's like it's person to person. It's situational, okay? It's situational. So it's such a complicated thing to describe and talk about that it's hard to just fucking issue like one-liners. It's easy when you're in the chat, but if your goal is to like genuinely educate people and look at a situation with as broad of a scope as possible, then you know. The easiest example I always give is like, yeah, if unwanted touch can be considered sexual assault, sometimes very clearly sexual assault, or a touch from someone who isn't offering you consent immediately, like if it's your fucking girlfriend, is not sexual assault. But it can be, but it's not in many instances, okay? But also, simultaneously, again, spousal abuse, spousal rape, like partners raping one another is a very common thing. So it's difficult to just like assess or give you like one fucking guideline to follow. But if you want to be as safe as possible, always ask for consent. That's it. Do you understand? It's hard. It's so difficult to fucking talk about. It's disturbing that this is difficult. No, it's not disturbing that this is difficult. Because human beings are unique. You know what I mean? What the fuck do you mean? Have you ever interacted with another human? Like, we're not even talking about consent at this point. We're talking about just like genuine interaction. How many times do you fucking have a conversation with a random stranger where you're like, oh, fuck, I probably came across awful, when you didn't even come across awful? Okay? Go outside, you dumb motherfuckers. Actually, maybe it's better that you don't. Okay? And we can't even have a normal conversation surrounding this because people will go on the opposing side of the argument and immediately be like it's so annoying because some people will be like, dude, it's so simple. Shut the fuck up. You're an idiot. Like, what? Just read the other person, lol. Okay? When plenty of people can't, okay? They're just not good at it. And they don't even recognize that they're not good at it, maybe. Or on the other end, you're like, well, dude, what am I going to fucking ask for consent for everything? What the fuck? Nah, fuck that. And oh, this is just pestering. It's totally normal. It's totally fine. I've gotten so much pussy doing this. Well, then, okay, well, you're probably leaving a lot of people behind that are traumatized by your actions. And you have to genuinely reconsider the way the way you interact with people. Yeah, XQC's take on this is actually really good. He knows he knows he's not very good at reading people. He knows he's very bad at reading people, so he just like is super careful and always asks. Aziz Ansari is a great example of this. I think so too. But people were yelling at me and saying, no, Aziz Ansari was pestering. Aziz Ansari was pestering. He was doing the same shit. And like, it was like, they went on a date. I can totally understand why he didn't think anything wrong of it, given the accounts of the situation. Like, that's something I am factoring in. We haven't talked about Justin Roiland yet. Don't bring Aziz back up. Yeah, I know. It's fucking frustrating. This is so weird, man. It's so weird. It's so weird. Smut reading stream. Read some smut. What the fuck's wrong with you? Like, we're in the middle of this, like, we're in the middle of a story about sexual assault and shit, and I'm like trying to teach people consent, trying to teach 40,000 people, like an arena full of motherfuckers, consent, and you're over here being like, oh, read some smut, read some smut, read some smut. Calm down. Fuck. Anyway. Moldy Flecker alleged in a video that Callaghan touched her inner thigh, kissed her neck, attempted to put his hand down her pants while she was giving him a ride home. I told him to stop. I told him to get off multiple times. She says in the video, he tried to put my hand down his pants and I was fighting against him during this, telling him to please stop. Eventually, she says Callaghan left the car. This was the one that was like pretty open and shut. Okay? Like pretty obvious, firm, multiple fucking no's, and also the pestering continuing into like physical. Firm pestering nose and then and like physically pursuing the person. Like it's just, you know, pretty obvious. In an interview with Rolling Stone, Caroline says she initially met Callaghan at the Ben's Dive Bar. She approached Callaghan, who was with a woman who appeared to be his girlfriend, as a fan of his content. A few months later, they agreed to meet up when Callaghan was in Miami. Instagram DM screen grabs of Caroline later posted on TikTok along with a photo of her posing with Callaghan. Callaghan appeared to be in distress, telling her he had a falling out with a crew member. Caroline says that because she met Callaghan while he was with another woman, she did not initially think the meeting was romantic. When they met up again at the same bar a few months later, however, the vibe shifted. He was buying me drinks and trying to impress me, she says. People who wouldn't have talked to me at the bar were kissing my ass. At the bar, she says, Callaghan tried to kiss her, and she politely turned him down. When they got back to her place, Callaghan became persistent, allegedly badgering her for sex. He was very pushy and not taking no for an answer. I was like, no, I'm not feeling it. Eventually, she relented and, she says, was coerced into various sexual acts. I was sexually assaulted when I was 14 by someone else. I fought back hard against that person. I pushed that person off me. I think in that moment, that's why I didn't fight Callaghan off me as much as I could have. And I tried to turn him down politely until he begged and begged, and I finally let him touch me. He wakes up at 4 a.m. in a full-blown panic attack. She kicked Callaghan out of her apartment a few hours later. For the next few months, she says she blamed herself for the encounter and felt guilty for inviting him over. I internalized a lot of the disgust and anger at the situation. A friend of Caroline's, who asked not to be named, told Rolling Stone that Caroline had shared details of the encounter with her shortly after. In the spring of 2021, the friend posted about Callaghan on Instagram, accusing him of assault and urging people to unfollow him. The Instagram story was intended as a warning to other women in the area, she tells Rolling Stone, though she did not name Caroline directly. Caroline's boyfriend also confirmed that she had told him about Callaghan in the spring of 2021, a few months after that night in her home. Been a very painful week for us, he said, adding that he and Werheim have no professional relationship with Andrew at this time, with no plans of going forward with any relationship with him. We believe that these women who came forward and, of course, totally condemn the type of behavior that Andrew's being accused of. This is a conversation. This is a question that comes to mind all the time. What the fuck is up with YouTubers and sexual assault? There has to be some Venn diagram with gaining clout and sexual aggression. You, my friend, unfortunately do not understand that this is not just commonplace in YouTube or TikTok or Twitch or Hollywood. It's commonplace everywhere. Okay? The only difference is that when it happens in a fucking dive bar to your friend who's a CPA, she just sits back and holds it in and internalizes that for the rest of her life. It happens all the time. But because it happens all the fucking time, and I think like people need to be more honest about it. And I think that people aren't very honest about it, partially because they don't have experiences, don't have any sexual experiences whatsoever, so they don't understand, don't have any interpersonal relationships, so they don't understand like that it can be sometimes complicated. Okay. But also partially because people don't want to like admit that this is social conditioning that guides men and women to behave in certain ways with societal expectations that we place upon them, and the way to fix that is by being the way to start fixing that is by being more honest about it. Okay, because like I care more about the side, as always, of the perpetrators, and statistically speaking, it's men. I also am a man myself, right? So, like, I can only speak to that side of the equation. And that's the reason why I talk about it in the way that I talk about it. It might even come across sometimes as like too empathetic to men in this circumstance. Okay? Do you get it? Do you understand? But the reality is that like the reason why I do it in the way that I do it is specifically so that I can reach out to young men. Okay, reach out to young men ahead of time so they curb back on this kind of behavior. If a regular person does the same thing, you're not going to hear about it. No one's going to report it, even the victims speak up. That's why we only hear YouTube and people in positions of power. Yeah. Believe me, every woman experienced something like that where the line crossed, leaving us uncomfortable in our own bodies. We're sometimes scared to be saying no over and over again after the first one was ignored because you never know how far the guy will go. Like, this kind of shit is also like is terrifying because like you could be a well-intentioned person and not even realize that you're like crossing people's boundaries because like your expectation as a man, and I could say this as a man myself, is not that like, especially when you're younger, is not that like every woman has like had an experience like this and they're behaving a certain way that like is basically an act of self-preservation. Like, you don't think that. Guys don't think that, okay? That's just the truth. No one fucking thinks about that. No one even comprehends that. Like, this is something that you have to recognize and learn and appreciate when your women friends are honest about it to you, okay? When they open up to you and they tell you about their experiences with other people. I mean, that's it. Anyway. Griffin said it best at the panel. Men are afraid they won't get sex or will be rejected, while women are afraid of being raped or murdered. Yeah, exactly. When men don't acknowledge that, it creates problems. Men can make a safe space by simply educating themselves and acknowledging that fact. Yeah, 100%. I agree. And then you have freaks like this. Oops, I accidentally raped someone because I couldn't read her signals. Come on. Like, who are you talking to? Who are you addressing? What is this conversation? God, I fucking despise some of you people. I swear to God, dude. Like, I'm not here to talk to you, okay? I'm not talking to you, okay? I'm not. I'm talking to other people who don't understand the boundaries, don't understand the guidelines. This is a secondary conversation that we're having. Okay? People that make it seem like every fucking interaction that you have with another human being is like completely black and white are so weird. Are so fucking weird, man. They're so odd. Let's be honest. If you don't push a little for sex, you are not going to get any. 99 out of 100 girls don't want to think they're too easy. It's easy enough to know when too far is too far, but the specific boundary is fuzzy. Wait, what? Bro, I literally just described that this is one of the bad ways of thinking, like earlier. Like I said, in the most charitable way, if this is your approach to the subject matter, you're oftentimes going to find yourself traumatizing people. Like literally the conversation that we're having is exactly that mentality. And you just said, nah, that's not how it is. Anyway. Listen, man, women are horny, okay? Sometimes hornier than you are. They'll fucking tell you if they want to fuck you. If anything, if we had a safer space for women, okay, we didn't consistently objectify women, if we didn't have weird puritanical associations with like female purity and you know, the expectations that we placed upon women, you'd probably be getting a lot more pussy because they wouldn't be constantly fucking guarded because there's like, you know, there's this like weird situation where dudes are pressuring them all the time. And then also simultaneously, they're going to be fucking slut shamed and shit. Anyway. So weird. You're saying just fuck the homies? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The political fallout of Biden's documents is so funny, but like I just can't